And thank you, Bob Griffin, for saving my face.
After Jerry Ford became vice president, what did you here in Michigan do to honor your native son?
Either the House or Senate, the final confirmation, he was sworn in. Again, the genius of Jerry Rowe, who was my executive director at the party. We had set up in advance and had reserved the Capitol Hill Club, which is the Republican club, if you will, in Washington. We reserved it for Michigan reception for the new vice president. Jerry Ford left the Capitol, came to the Capitol Hill Club, a club that his picture had hung in for ever since it began as the minority leader of the House.
Right.
He came in the door, and the first person to greet him was Jerry Rowe, who is a political collector. Jerry Rowe had the program from the night, and Mr. Vice President, and Jerry Ford signed the vice president things for him, and so that was the first autograph he gave as vice president. And there was we probably had 500-600 people in the Capitol Hill Club, all to pay tribute to our now favorite son, Jerry Ford.
Okay, Saturday Night Massacre, October 20th, 1973.
Saturday night, on the 22nd, I guess it was, I was exhausted. We've been beaten about. I was exhausted. I went to bed.
Here in Northville.
Here in Northville, in this very house. We turned off the television, the radio, and everything else. I went sound asleep. The next morning, around 8 o'clock, the phone rang. I picked it up. It was the assignment desk at Channel 7 in Detroit. A crew was on their way out to talk to me about the Saturday Night Massacre. Okay, what's the Saturday Night Massacre? And as I said that, bang, 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 on the front door was Doris Biscoe from Channel 7.
Oh, boy.
And the Channel 7 crew came in.
Whoa.
And I sat in the very chair you're sitting in as they talked to me and told me the Saturday Night Massacre, which was Nixon had ordered that the Attorney General fire, the guy's name was Cox, who was the special prosecutor, was it?
Right,
special prosecutor in the Watergate thing. Elliot Richardson, a good friend of mine, was the Attorney General, and he said no and resigned.
And Bill Ruckelshaus.
And then Bill Ruckelshaus was the Assistant Attorney General, another good friend of mine, and he was told to fire him, and he said no. So they finally got down to a guy named Bork, who was another lightning rod when he was nominated for the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And Bork, of course, said yes, sir, and did. Fired Cox. To me, it was the most devastating moment of my life. I mean, I couldn't believe this guy Nixon had to have lost his mind doing some of the things he was doing. But that was the Saturday Night Massacre. And of course, I'm sure I said the wrong things because I was in the paper the next day and everybody was upset with me, but I'm sure I said...
Well, so you believed at that point Nixon had to resign himself? Did you make a statement to that?
No, I never said... I said I think it's time for the Congress to uphold the Constitution and begin impeachment proceedings. Or start the whole impeachment process.
You didn't necessarily call for Nixon's resign, at least at that point.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't call for that.
What about the governor's conference in Memphis? Wasn't that about a month later?
That was in November, as I remember.
Yeah.
And the governor, I went to most of the National Governor's Conference. We were down there. It was a 3-day thing. And I think it was Tuesday, the last day of the convention. The convention. Nixon appeared before the governors. And he told the governors, everything's out, it's going to be out, there is nothing more, don't worry, get about our business. Milliken came out of the room. He looked so relieved. He really was happy. Thank God, that's it. Jay Van Andel was the Amway Van Andels, was our state finance chairman. He had his plane there. He flew the governor and I from Memphis to South Bend, Indiana, where at Notre Dame that night, John Conley was having a fundraiser raising money for Indiana and Michigan. We went there, and then when we left there, he flew us back to Lansing. Instead of my traveling, getting in the car and coming back to Northville, the governor said, please, just stay overnight, please.
In the governor's residence.
At the governor's residence. I don't like staying overnight, but I said, okay. So I went to bed, slept. I got up the next morning, and I went into the living room, and there, I think there was a fireplace. Standing before the fireplace, looking as white as a sheet, was Bill Milliken. I said, what's wrong? and he told me that they had just they just found out that there was 18 and a half minutes missing out of the tapes.
The Rosemary Woods.
The Rosemary Woods, who had to have an iron
yeah.
17 feet long to do the racing, but whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I do believe that was the moment when Governor Milliken's faith in Richard Nixon was ruined forever. I had lost faith in Nixon some time ago. I think the governor was such a nice person, never would betray anybody. But that day,
that did it.
I think that did it. Yeah.
There were two crucial special congressional elections in Michigan in 1974. One to replace Jerry Ford, who of course had gone on to become vice president and president, and the other to replace Jim Harvey, a longtime congressman in the Thumb area, Bay City and Saginaw, who had been appointed a federal judge. What do you remember about those two special elections?
We started out in Grand Rapids. We got the best candidate we could possibly get. Bob Vanderlaan, who was the majority leader of the Senate. An outstanding public servant and a good campaigner. Mm-hmm. So we're in great shape. The Democrats nominated, I think he's an attorney, Vanderveen was his name.
Richard Vanderveen.
Richard Vanderveen
yeah.
was his name. Anyways, if I had to do it all over again, Bill, I would not change one thing we did. Probably the best party organization in the state was in Kent County. The district was Kent County and Ionia County. Some of the best leaders in the state were out of Kent County. They did everything under the sun the right way. The election night returns were held. We got them in what was then the Pantland Hotel, which is now the Amway Grand Plaza, but
yep.
was then the Pantland Hotel. I was upstairs with Vanderlaan in a room, and came in, and we couldn't believe our eyes. We lost the district. I came down the stairs, I came down the elevator, and went through the ballroom where the rally was, get my car, because I had to ride back to Northville. As I went through, somebody said, "What happened?" I used to think I was a professional, not stupid, but I was stupid that night. And I told them what happened. And what I didn't know, there was WXYZ radio in Detroit, microphone there, and I said, "Watergate killed us," and just kept on going.
Well, you were right.
As I got, I'm on the freeway, and I get to the Lowell exit, and I think you go around the corner.
Yeah.
The CBS evening, or the midnight news comes out, and Watergate kills us, said Michigan chairman was
William McLaughlin. Yeah.
Now I don't know whether I should stop and call Milliken or not.
Yeah.
But anyways, I continue at home. By 7 o'clock the next morning, I think every news organization in the nation was calling me. And, well, I believed it, and it was, and I...
Well, I mean, nobody could really fault you.
But, of course, nobody agreed with me. George Bush said it was a lousy party organization. He was national chairman.
All right.
And a guy by the name of Ford says, "I know that seat better than anybody. The party didn't do a good job. It's the party's fault." Oh, well, thanks, peoples. We ran an after-election poll. The after-election poll said we got Republicans out in record numbers, but 50% of them voted for the Democrat. What else could it be? It had to be Watergate. So
right.
Watergate killed us.
Right. Well, now, that could also be said about the other special election in the Thumb, right?
Well, you talk about mirrors. And sometimes I just wish let nature take its course instead of getting so involved. But I literally moved to Saginaw, lived in the Holiday Inn in Saginaw for the 6 weeks of the campaign. With Sparling. Jim Sparling was the executive director, the right arm of Jim Harvey, who had been appointed as who was the incumbent congressman, and he was running for the office. He was a pretty good candidate.
Yeah.
Bob Traxler was a member of the legislature, as I remember, and he was running for the Democrat side. A number of things happened. We got a poll 3/4 of the way through the campaign that showed if we could keep Nixon out of the debate, Sparling was going to win. I didn't know the day before the poll came that Sparling had called the White House and invited Nixon to come in to campaign for him.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Good, gee whiz.
Yeah.
So I immediately started arguing with Sparling. "Jim, you got it. You can't. Here's the numbers. No, it's too late. I've already invited him.